Good morning, everyone. How's everybody feeling today? All right, I think I know my name. My name is Ronnie Jones, and I am the newly appointed as of May 4th. Film that. As of May 4th, the new Business Engagement Manager, and I am going to put a strong emphasis on the word engage, engage, engage. I want to move forward with the Kent Chamber of Commerce. That's what I'm going to be doing, engaging all the businesses that I can help. I know it sounds like a lot, but right now with over 400 active members, wanting to get that to, my dream actually, I won't say 10,000. My dream is every business in the city of Kent should be on with the chamber. That's how many members I want us to grow to. But thank you. Appreciate y'all. All right. That's where I want it, every business. So I'm delighted to extend a warm welcome to you guys on behalf of our team, our board of directors, as we gather for this June Luncheon Access to Capital. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. Many business owners come to the chamber with the same question of how do we get access to capitals? Okay, so how do I get funding for my business? And today, excuse me, and today with the help of Carmen, Nam, Taryn with a Y, right? Correct. All right, Taryn with a Y. We will get some of those questions answered. So first we have Scott and Teresa Schaefer with South King Media. There they go. All right. Thanks to them, this meeting is being recorded and will be shared on Facebook. South King Media is local, independent, family-run business that serves up award-winning hyper-local news, events, politics, arts, entertainment, and film, videos and all kind of stuff to help you out around this South Seattle area. And then Taryn with Green River College. That's you.
Oh, you want me to?
You want to say something?
I do.
You're going to be saying a lot, but you can say something now, yeah.
My name is Taryn Hornby. I'm subbing for Kevin Grossman. I'm with the SBDC. We have a contract with Green River. The SBDC is the Small Business Development Center. We were formed by the SBA in 1980. We counsel small business owners at no cost to them. Any topic you're interested in discussing, one of our 40 advisors in the state of Washington can help you. My background, in a past life, I was a vice president for a sub of the largest bank in the world, looking at deals like Harley-Davidson, Rollerblades, North Face, Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm very familiar with what these two do. Not only do I advise clients, but I work very closely with them to assist in helping businesses get financing.
All right, all right. Thank you. All right, round of applause for her.
Hi, my name is Nguyen, branch manager for WaFd Bank up on East Hill. I'm also a board member for the Kent Chamber of Commerce as well.
Carmen Goers with Washington Trust Bank. My branch is based out of Tacoma. I live here in Auburn. I cover South King County, North Pierce County. I've been in the market for over 25 years, and I'd love to be of service.
Okay, so without further ado, I would like to introduce the moderator, Mrs. D. Scott.
Woo. Thank you, Ronnie. Hopefully you guys aren't too full where you're ready to go to sleep. So we have some really great information to share with you all today. I am a board member at the Kent Chamber of Commerce. It is my honor to serve not only as a board member capacity, but as a managing broker and real estate specialist, helping people build generational wealth through home ownership. That includes business owners as well. And so it is my passion. People are my passion. You will see over here to my right a little bit about me. I mean, it's just in bold, leading with character, integrity, and serving in excellence. And I think one of the things that attracted me to the Kent Chamber is the CEO, Zenobia. She has a heart for people. She has a heart for business. And when I had an opportunity to sit down and speak with her, there's so many resources that the Kent Chamber has to offer. And so I just want to encourage you all as business owners to tap into the Kent Chamber. We really do have a lot of resources in a lot of different areas. Because sometimes, how many business owners do we have, or aspiring business owners? Okay. Are we all thriving and having a great time right now, or are some of us on the struggle bus because it's just hard right now? Okay, I'll be the only one. Sometimes real estate is a little bit challenging as interest rates are rising, and we've got to have a real conversation, right?
It's sunny outside.
It's sunny outside, right? So when you are in business, it is important that you understand your market and you have to learn how to pivot, right? And so we want to really give you some tools right now as business owners. How do you tap in to money? We are not on a barter system in our America. We cannot exchange bread for houses. We cannot, right? We are in a capitalist America, and so we want to be able to give you all some good resources so that you can move your business forward. Is that fair? Okay. Today we want you to understand your financing options, learn what lenders look for, determine whether they are capital ready. Are you a business that's capital ready? Identify resources available to help you prepare. You should have some, is this 3x5, 4x6? Anyway, whatever the size card this is, I want you to be able to write down your questions so that at the end of this, we're gonna kind of ping pong. You guys can raise your hands, ask your questions in real time, and we're gonna do our best to answer them for you, okay? Because I don't know about you, sometimes I forget what I was gonna say or forget my questions in the next 5 minutes. So I'm gonna put on my readers, because they didn't tell me at 45 you were gonna need readers. This is cold world. So I can be able to see.
Wait till 50 hits you.
Wait till 50 hits me? Yeah. See, I understand this now. I didn't understand this before. I understand this now. So I'm just gonna go right into it. Is that all right? Miss Carmen.
Yes, ma'am.
When a business owner says, I need funding, what questions should they answer before approaching a bank?
So one of the key things is that what you do before you come to a lender is very important in being prepared for the conversation. The clarity we want really is, what are you trying to accomplish? And there's other lenders and financial institutions in the room, and we all have slightly different buckets. For those that remember Aladdin, great big powers, every bank, itty bitty living space. So it's not that your idea or concept may not be approved at one, is a bad idea at one, but you may need to find the right lender for that. And I want to start off, for those that are taking notes, if you could write this phone number down, 253-579-4538. That is my work cell. I'm happy to take texts and phone calls and just answer those questions that you have. Please know that I have grandchildren, so don't call late. But the key is just asking those questions that you may come to you in the middle of the night or middle of the afternoon that you just want a quick answer on or a perspective on. Happy to do that. So the things that we as lenders want to see is, are your financials in order? Do you have a profit and loss statement? Or do you have a business plan that has projections? And can you verify or provide assumptions to how you got that? If you are already in business and someone came to you today and says, I got $1 million contract, I've been looking for you and your client, could you secure financing to implement that contract? That's kind of the thoughts. And when you come to a lender, you tell us kind of the story of what you're trying to do, and bring what your balance sheet, your profit and loss statement looks like. There may be other avenues to finding the financing. Is it inventory? Is it a service and you need to add staffing for working capital? Do you need to buy a piece of equipment that might take 3, 6, or 9 months to deliver, and so you need that progress billing? Those are all the kind of things of, what are you trying to accomplish, so that we can see what products and services that we individually have that can maybe meet that need. Or, as many of us, we all know each other, or do I know another institution that may be better for you, or a CDFI, a non-traditional lender, that could meet that need as well. There's a lot of different components that keep moving. Everyone's slightly unique, and so it's about the conversation and the relationship and the transparency to help you get that done.
I love that. Thank you. She gave you her phone number. Now, I have sat on 2 different panels.
Yes, ma'am.
In the past 6 months.
Yes, ma'am.
And you every time give your phone number.
Yes, ma'am.
How many phone calls do you get after you have spoken to a crowd of business owners that are showing up that say, we need some help?
1, maybe 2. 1, and then the text message, and then tend not to be a follow-up.
Okay. Why is that?
Because people get nervous about money. Okay, so I will start. I am a nerd and a geek when it comes to numbers. I think they're beautiful. They don't lie to you. They are what they are, but you can make them tell a story. You can make them dance or you can make them sad. And so before we had Sheldon with Big Bang Thinking, we had Urkel. I'm Urkel. And it's like, did I do that? Yeah, you made some mistakes. And so there's a nervousness in talking about your credit score, in talking about your finances, your net profits or losses, and where that money went. And so generally it's around that insecurity. So I try to be as receptive to all those situations. Now for context, I raised 4 daughters. They're all in their 30s. They all live on their own, praise the Lord. And they've made financial decisions that I'm like, who are you related to? Because you grew up with me. And so we all have those little, those little parts of our finances that are really personal, and they dig deeper beyond the numbers. And so I try to build a bridge across that conversation. And I can tell you that there was a young lady's relative, because I'm older, but a young person who had a credit score in the 400s. And most people was like, what are you going to do with that? Well, she got information, got education, and over about 18 to 20 months was able to improve her credit, get her finances in order, and she just signed a mortgage for $450,000. It was time and diligence and becoming transparent. And so someone who thought they would never, and me as a lender, if you got 400, I'm like, I got to pass you, so I can't help you. But she took the information, she found the help, and let me rephrase that. Her home's worth $450. The loan's not $450, but she's bought her first home, and that is a step towards security. It's a step towards a better future for her and her child. So it comes down to that. But I do give my number out, and I do respond.
Yeah. I think one of the things I'll sidebar here is when you are a homeowner, you have, as a business owner who is also a homeowner, you are building an equitable position to diversify your assets. Your home is an asset. And so when you are able to build equity, you are able then to invest in your business as well. Thank you. Thank you, Carmen. Nam.
Yes.
What are the most important things a lender evaluates when reviewing a business loan application?
Well, it comes down to the meat and potatoes of things, right? A big portion of it is 3 years of your personal tax returns, 3 years of your business tax returns. Filed. And if it's not filed yet, we'd like to see proof of an extension. And then Carmen had mentioned profit and loss statements, as well as your debt schedule. Debt schedule just means credit card bills, even cell phone bills, just to find out where your money is going. But above and beyond that, we also take a look at your story, right? And to Carmen's point, everybody gets kind of weary, everybody gets a little bit scared. When I talk to a lot of business owners and you ask them these type of questions, the first thing I always hear is, let me talk to my accountant. I'll tell you right now, as a business owner, if you don't know those numbers and you have to rely on your accountant, you're already in a pretty bad situation there, right? These are information that you should have on hand at any time. And then the story of it, right? If you were to come to somebody and say, hey, I need a loan for $50,000, we're gonna want to know why, right? A big portion of it is why, what are we utilizing the money for? How is that gonna raise additional capital and improve your business? Is it to retain employees? And then how do you anticipate utilizing those funds to pay us back as well? Right, there's going to be that's a big part of it, and then your character, who you are, how do you give back to the community? Tell us more about your business. All those are very, very important.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Miss Taryn.
Yes.
What does it mean for a business or nonprofit organization to be capital ready? Before you answer this question,
Yes.
Can I ask how many business owners have been in business for 10 plus years? Okay. How many are less than 10? Okay, 5? 1? Okay. How many have a profit and loss statement, P&L? That's fair. Can I tell you I've been in business for 20 years? It was 7 years ago that I actually had a formal profit and loss. I didn't know I'm just, so like you're not alone. Nobody told me. I was helping people do the thing and sell houses. So when people told me how I needed to run a business, and somebody said, "What? I need your P&L," I said, "What are you talking about? You know, what is P&L? Profit and loss?" And it took me 2 years to pull the trigger on getting a real accountant and seeing my budget because I was terrified, not scared, terrified. Terrified in understanding and learning my numbers, learning the language of business. I could sell houses all day long. I know the market, I can tell you where things are going, but I had to strengthen this muscle as a business owner. So I just want to encourage all of you that even if you don't, maybe you raised your hand and you were lying, okay, been there too, okay? Maybe you don't really have a budget, you just know what it takes for you to get to the thing every month, right? To begin the process of exploring your own numbers. That is where your power comes from. When I first saw my very first P&L, I was shocked. And I realized how much excess money I was throwing away on things that didn't really serve moving the business forward, like $50,000 a year. And I have kids that are eating me out of house and home, right? So I got very intentional about being an excellent real estate specialist, but I also had to now be excellent in being a business owner. And those two roads are not the same.
I just want to add one point. So I serve on a few boards on government affairs, shameless plug it here at the Chamber, and I was with a nonprofit who said, "Ooh, we got extra cash, we got extra money we weren't expecting." And every part of me was like, nothing's extra, everything should have a job. So when money comes in that maybe you got a job and you had a better profit margin, it's not extra. You should know that there's a place for that to go. And when you don't know where it's going to go, it becomes extra, and then less than wise decisions are often made.
That's right.
That's a fair statement?
It very much fair. Yeah. And so being accountable to the money is a real place. So if you haven't started that journey, I would encourage you to do so, to be accountable to your money. If you already have and can do it better, continue that journey. Okay, back to the question, Ms. Taryn.
I'll just comment on what you said.
Okay.
Yes, numbers are the language of business. And if you don't have a financial statement and understand how to read that, it would be like me handing 5 debit cards out to strangers and trying to make decisions based on how much cash I have. You have no idea. So being in control of that is one of the systems that you have to get in order to be lender ready. My question, you asked me, how can you be capital ready for a for-profit or not-for-profit? I deal only in for-profit businesses, so I can't speak on the nonprofit portion. Possibly they can. How can you be capital ready? It's a very complex question. Small businesses have about 100 moving pieces. So in order to sum it up, first of all, I'm going to look and make sure you need capital. Let's make sure all the systems are in order. They're working efficiently. You're charging the right price. You're paying attention to your cash flow. Small business owners notoriously don't raise their prices when they should raise their prices, and then their margins get thinner and thinner. So we're going to look at, do you really need to borrow money? Second of all, if I had to sum up a complex situation in just a few words, I would say, are your systems in order, and are you ready to take the next step? You know, if you don't have the right people on hand, if you're not charging the right prices, if your cash flow isn't there, if you can't read financial statements, if you don't have financial statements, if your marketing program isn't working, let's deal with those things first and see if that can solve the problem before we look into obtaining capital. So let's fix all the problems. The good reasons to borrow money are if you're taking it to the next step. Like I just got a great big order. I am going into a new market. I just developed a new product. I'm looking to buy a new business. If you're looking to the lender to fix your mistakes, that's not why they want to lend money. If you're looking to the lender to pay your salary, it's not why they're lending money. They're looking to increase the value of your business, not fix your problems.
Yeah, go ahead now.
Those are all great points by Taryn. A couple months ago, I had a business owner come to me. He was a flooring contractor, and he came to me for a loan. And that's one of the big things about being a business owner, because I used to be one as well about 20 years ago, is that as business owners, we don't know what we don't know, right? We know how to run our business, and that's about it. I was a machinist before. I knew how to do machining. My client, he's a flooring specialist. He knows how to do flooring, but he didn't understand the business aspect of it. He had his sister who had ran all the financials. She ended up getting married, and she left. When we sat down with him to take a look at his cash flow, understand why he needed a $50,000 loan, it wasn't more money that he needed, because he was trying to kind of, what's that, where you slap on that Band-Aid to stop the water from spilling out, right? And that was his biggest issue. So when we took a look at his cash flow, I actually worked with the SBDC, Kevin Grossman, who Taryn is filling in for. We have free resources for you guys to take a look at these things, so there's nothing to be ashamed of or scared of, right? We naturally fear what we don't know. Working with a specialist like Taryn or SBDC or even a SCORE mentor, something along those lines, a lot of free resources out there, they take a look at everything. What we realized was that he needed to get his finances in order. And as a business owner, for him, it was thinking, I just need to bring in more customers. And what he did was he started to discount all his services. And then before long, he was working, he was working for free. And another thing as business owners, when you have an aging report, AR report, you guys, how many people work off of AR reports and have 30, 60, 90 days? What happens is you become the bank, right? And now you're giving away money for free at that point. So sitting down with somebody like Taryn, SCORE mentor, figuring out what your cash flow looks like, and really understanding what you really need. It's not always extra money.
Can you go to when you use AR reports? Can we dig a little deeper into that?
So accounts receivable reports. So if you are a service business, if you are a manufacturer, and you release your product or service on credit with, I'm gonna do the job, and then I'm gonna bill you, and then you're gonna send me that money back in 30 days or 45 days, that's your accounts receivable. That's an asset to the business. You are financing the work you've already done. So knowing that that's going to come in 30 days or 15 days, whatever that contract is it's a use of your current cash, because you can't turn that around right away to do another job. So if you've got $100,000 in accounts receivable that are stretching out 30, 60, 90 days, that's capital you're losing. And if you now have to spend time as an owner or hire someone to go collect that, I was a special assets officer. I did the collection sometimes. You want to get that, you could be losing time and energy if it's not set up properly. So as a bank, we will lend on accounts receivable when we can determine that they are valuable, that they're going to be collected on. Primarily, I've worked with a lot of contractors and subcontractors, and I always say, as a framer, as a painter, as a flooring guy, you're the bank of the industry, because the general contractor gets money, and then they have to pay you, and however long they take to get it, then send it out to you, and then you to get it to the bank. I says there's a working capital cycle, and so most of your commercial bankers and your business lenders can help you calculate what that is for you, and then if I put this out for just an easy dollar amount, $100. And I don't get it back for 45 days, what have I lost? And that's a critical thing to know. What can I not do because I don't have that money in the bank to do it for the next project? I also want to extend on the topic of a cash flow statement. A cash flow statement is different than your profit and loss, especially with nonprofits. There's a couple nonprofits in the room, and so you have a big fundraiser, you bring in $100,000. Well, if you don't have monthly donors, that's going to have to last you through the next fundraising cycle or the next grant cycle. So this month I might be running at a negative, but the next 2 months I'm flush, but that's because of the donations from before. So lenders want to know, what does that cash flow look like? Even if you're in the service industry, if you sell Christmas trees, in August you don't really have a lot of cash, because who's buying a Christmas tree? So we want to see, when does money go out, when is money supposed to come back in, and then we can draft and hopefully create a repayment cycle that's conducive to the best possible outcomes for you. So there may be months that you're running in the negative, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you want to retain that staff. You don't want them to go somewhere else. They're fully trained. But if you're a exterior painter, you're not painting much in December, but you want to keep your crew together. So it might not be necessarily a bad thing. And those are the uncomfortable conversations. And that's why I said I had 4 daughters, so I'm used to being uncomfortable. But no one's in therapy, so yay. Today, no one's in therapy on that side.
So please write this book down. It is called The 12-Week Year. It's by Brian P. Morin. The reason why I'm saying that is, as business owners, what she was talking about was businesses ebbs and flows. It's cyclical, right? And so there's seasonality to most businesses. And so, and I'll just take, for example, real estate. In the wintertime, typically, it is slower, right? And so when we are looking at what our goal is for the year, we have to make sure that we are intentional about understanding the seasonality. So if you're a painter, right, if you do decks, you know that seasonally, you're probably not going to be building a deck in the winter time. Right? And so whatever you make in the summertime or the spring or late fall, those things have to carry you. Now, your business model or your business plan, you have to understand that and write that down. So the question is by seasonality something that I can absorb? Are there things that I can be doing 90 days before? Because anything typically that you do in marketing, if you do it consistently, it will show up in 90 days. Anything that you do in marketing, you do it consistently, it will show up in 90 days. Right? So when you are looking at your yearly calendar and you're looking at what is my marketing strategy, what are the things that I need to put into place right now that will show up in 90 days, and I need to scale that so I know my ROI. Everybody know what ROI means? Return on investment, whether that's return on investment on money, whether it's boots on the ground. So because DD Real Estate understands that seasonally it's typically slower in the wintertime, we actually rev up in July and August. And the only way I was able to know that is because I had to look at my numbers that I was afraid of, right? And so we actually doubled down on our marketing in August and July, and we have seen an even kill in our business every single quarter. I just want to throw that nugget out there so that when you're like, oh man, what do I need to do today to make money today? You really should be thinking 90 days to 8 months in advance. Does anybody want to speak to that? Yeah, I'll give you.
I had a client, they painted houses outside, not in internal walls, and she, the wife of the painter, talked with me, and they gave their painters vacations in July. We calculated how much that was costing her in mixed business, and I suggested that she set up those vacations in December when they're not doing anything internally in the house, and give them 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks. Once we calculated that, plus her prices were below market, she went from a negative net income to a positive. Another point I want to bring out regarding this is what my clients say is put on your mask first, like they say in the airlines. The company has to exist in order to pay the employees. So if you're making the priority the employees instead of your business, she could have gone out of business thinking that her employees needed the vacation in the summer versus thinking of the business first and having a place where they could work. So I know it's really difficult, and I know sometimes you want to help people, but you really have to make sure the business stays in business in order for them to be helped. And another question, another comment, I love the fact that you chose what to do in the off-season. We also help clients determine if there's a product they could utilize in their off-season. So we look at the seasonality. We look at how we could fill that in. Can you do something in regard to the holidays? Can you tap into things that are already out there, like graduations, et cetera? So let's fill in those empty spots, whether it's through marketing or selling another product or offering another service. Let's fill that in, or let's add another shift, or let's figure out how to build capacity. You have a limited space, 1,000 square feet. How can we sell online? How can we take deposits and not have the inventory on hand? So how can we increase capacity? How can we increase business, whether it's seasonality, whether it's capacity limitations?
That's good.
So I just want to, so the painter that I was working with, that was a client of mine, because he did exteriors and summer is really, really busy, he had in the fall, in the winter time, he would start sending out, if you sign up now, I'll give you a % discount. So he could front load and have his guys doing whatever the little repairs are, the little things like that on the interior the inside the envelope. There's construction terms, but he was setting discounts, so people were getting. He was accruing his client base earlier before they went looking with a slight nugget of a discount. But he'd only get the discount because he knew what his costs were, and he knew that if he can keep his guys hired, he'd have to retrain new guys, and the quality of that work he can price for. So the same problem exists in the industry. It's handled differently, and by utilizing your score, your SBDC, or your bankers, we can tell you these stories, and then you could decide, because you're entrepreneurs, you guys have thousands of ideas. We're just one part of being a team. We're one tool in your tool belt, so that we try to be.
And then adding on to that as well, from a banker perspective, you kind of want to start dating your bank, if you will. You don't want to come to us for the first time and say, hey, I need money now, right? It's when your business is doing well, when you have good cash flow, when everything is doing good, when you don't need that extra funds is when you want to start having that conversation with your bank, so you have that access to a line of credit or a loan to prepare for those slower months as well. That's a big part.
And if you don't date, then you'll be swiping left, swiping right.
We've all been there.
Woo! Make sure you know which way you're swiping. Jesus. Question for Nam. What are the most common reasons a loan application is denied?
I think one of the things as a banker, when people come to me somewhat in desperation, right, and they say, how fast can I get this done? Or how fast can I get the money? That's always the first question. We could go as fast as you get your paperwork ready together, right? So having these tax documents that we had mentioned, the 3 years profit and loss, or 3 years tax returns on personal and business, profit and loss statement, debt schedule, having all that ready together, it is a big piece of it. Understanding where your credit score is another part. There's been so many times I've come in with clients come in and they'll apply for a loan thinking that their credit score is 750, but when we actually pull it up, it's about 580, right? So having these understandings where it is, you can't have estimations, right? When it comes to lending, a lot of things are black and white. This is why we have tax returns. Numbers don't lie. So understanding where that is, where you're at financially, and what your credit score is usually the ones that get denied.
Yeah. When do I know, as a business owner, when it's time for me to ask to borrow money? When is that?
When business is thriving, when business is good, and honestly, when you don't need it. The lines of credit and loans, they shouldn't be, they're there as an emergency, as a safety net, not, I think as Taryn mentioned it before, it's not as a tool to, you don't want to be short on payroll and then have to find a way to access capital to do it at that time.
Anybody else?
So as a banker, a lender, but we also help manage your checking accounts, your deposit. We do not ever want to return a payroll check. That is a knife in the gut on any type of day. And so knowing what that's coming in, those calls to your banker saying, hey, I might be having an issue. Hey, my AR, I had a client whose AR was about $120,000, and he was expecting it on Monday. It was now Wednesday. Payroll's coming on Friday. He was getting greatly concerned, as I would be too. And he's like, I might be short for payroll. I might be this. I'm not sure. And so having the conversations early with your banker, if you're not sleeping, please let us know, because then we're not sleeping. We don't want to wake up to an overdraft of $80,000 on payroll and then try to hunt you down. And hunt is the word I will use, because I don't want to have to return that payroll. So that transparency, and that's why dating and understanding your banker is so that we know the questions to even ask, for-profit or nonprofit. Is knowing what to ask and what we're looking for. And many people, many businesses, they may have one or two banks that they're working with for different reasons. Keeping those relationships open, and especially the best time in looking for excess or additional capital is when you're getting ready to expand a product line or expanding your team and getting that training on board to provide that working capital that you know is going to pay off in 3 to 5 years.
Is there a minimum credit score that a business needs to have in order to get a loan? Let's just say we're ready to go to phase 2. We need the capital. We need 50, 100,000 to hire, to whatever it is. What does that look like?
A score is like your driver's license weight. It's a recommendation of what you think you want it to be.
Okay.
Because most banks, we'll say a minimum of a 640. Some are 620s, some are 700. Your credit score kind of really helps determine the level of risk that a bank has, and that more so reflects the pricing. The prime plus 2 versus prime plus 5. And then there's a part where if you have a 400 or 600 credit score, it's too high, we don't even want to price it for the risk. And so that's where the decline will come from. So your credit score, while it's a number, it's what you're doing. Because our perception as a lender is that however you run your personal finances is how you're going to run your business finances. So if you're running your personal finances saying, I got paid $1,000, my bills are $900, but I want to go to Cancun this weekend so Geico can wait, well, then you're going to treat us the same way. And I don't want to have to hunt you down, although I will. So we risk I don't get hung up on the credit score so much, but you want to really keep it above the 670. That's kind of a healthy area to be in and fluctuate in. That means that you're keeping whatever dollar amount of credit cards you have, whether it's 1,000 or 10,000, you're at 30% of that or less. That's kind of you're living within your means. I don't care if you make $1 million a year. If you got $80,000 in credit card debt, you're living beyond your means if that's outstanding balances that are rolling forward. So we're really looking at what do you have going out versus what comes in, and how do you manage that on that side.
Can you please address, one partner has a 680 and the other has a 500 credit score and they're 50-50 owners?
Date up. No.
Ooh. Said date up.
Huh?
It's not working out.
Start working out. No kidding. So here's the thing: is they're not related. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I love numbers. I'm Sheldon. I'm Merkel. So when you have a business partner who has a lower credit score, the ways I've used to mitigate it is by duties. If the person with the 500 credit score is responsible for the accounting and the receivables and the cash management, well, that's going to paint a lot different picture than the person with a 680 credit score is managing those resources within the business. So that's how I've been able to kind of work to some degree. And then I had a guy with a strong net worth, a strong 6-figure net worth with a 620 credit score. That 620 credit score came because he refused to pay a Nordstrom bill because he returned those pants for $80,
yes, he did.
And he was just disputing it and refused. So he had a delinquency and a charge-off from Nordstrom's for $80 because he didn't have much credit. He didn't use much credit. And that took him to this really low credit score. And he was vehement that he was not going to pay that and did not care. I'm like, we're buying a $2.2 million building. I'll pay the damn slave, But his credit score was reflective of that for that reason. So that's why I say I don't get hung up on the numbers as compared to what's comprised in it. The same thing with a lot of medical bills. Medical bills are one of those things, you just need to address that creditor. If it's $10 a month and you create that plan, stick with it, and it won't be as devastating as just showing that you've got 30,000 or because medical bills can add up and it takes a long time to hit, so they look really, really old at the point that we're seeing them. So I don't get hung up on the credit score, but the story behind what's in there on that side. And that's the fear too. And just a side note this is my grandmother talking, fear, false evidence appearing real. It's a puff of smoke. You get through that fear, have a conversation with someone you trust or can develop a relationship with. We have different starting points. So I don't know what your history is, so we can just have the conversation. But get through that fear and have a conversation, and you will be amazed at the sunshine on the other side.
Go ahead.
I'd like to add on to that as well, and that's the big part of it is the story, right? That's the character. Everybody has a reason. I mean, I've seen a lot of credit scores ranging from 400 to 800, but everybody's got a story behind it. From an underwriting perspective, at WaFd Bank, we had that very same scenario where they're looking for a loan. They will take the higher credit score from an underwriting perspective with understanding why is the other side so low. Now, if it's just due to a high debt to income ratio or something along those lines, we could overlook that per se. So as long as there isn't anything derogatory on that, but that also shouldn't deter you, right? Going back to the story of the 400-something credit score being able to purchase a home. For us as bankers, we work with CDFIs, which is the Community Development Financial Institutions. They don't handle deposits, right? But they do give microloans to business owners, or even in some instances personal as well, where they're not so heavy on the credit score side, but they're really focused on the character side. Who are you? What are you utilizing the money for? And so we have a lot of resources that, again, between the Kent Chamber, Washington Trust, or WaFd, or even SBDC, right? We partner up with a lot of folks. We are a resource center for you guys, so you use us for that.
Okay, let me ask a question scenario. I'm a brand new business owner, brand new 0 to 5 years. I am not profitable yet, right? And when I say profitable, doesn't mean that I haven't made money. What it means is by the time my accountant said, hey, I'm gonna make sure that you don't pay Uncle Sam, so we're zero out your income. I'm sure I'm not the only one that did that early on, and I just didn't know, right? But now, I guess, do I need to be profitable in order to get a loan? Do I need to show income? I mean, so it happens to me all the time in the real estate world, where you have these business owners and you'll see they made $300,000 for the year, but their handy-dandy accountant zeroed out their income. So now they've made no money, but they want to buy an $800,000 home.
You're using some of the incorrect terms.
Okay.
So there's a difference between not making a profit and having zero taxable income.
Yes.
So if the goal of your tax preparer is to pay the least amount of taxes.
Correct.
The goal of a banker is, what money do you have to pay me back?
Okay.
So can I, between depreciation, are these one-time expenses for investment, is there a way that you're going to generate revenue, have a profit that can pay me back and is reasonable? That's what I'm looking for. We understand the art of accounting and the dance that they do for taxes. Mm-hmm. And that's the conversation between your tax preparer, your financial advisor, because he might be pulling things into retirement accounts for various reasons. So that's the overall story that we're going back to, is understand it. So the tax return is a significant piece, and from that we're going to follow up with questions. I had a client one time who had an investment property in Ocean Shores that he labeled as an employee benefit, because if you worked for him for 3 years, you can get 2 weeks in the Ocean Shore. He was a coffee stand. How many baristas stay there for 3 years? But he was able to write all of that off on his taxes. And so he had no taxable income, and he charged all the expenses for the home to the business.
It's good.
So when we unravel that component, because he was selling the business.
Super smart. That's smart.
It's a way of doing business, I will say that. But as a banker, I'm like, I want to be repaid. And is there space for when rates go up or there's a recession or contraction in the market, that there's space for you to continue to breathe and make quality decisions and not be in a flight or flight manner? And that's what we're looking at. So we understand, and that's why we have the conversations. And sometimes we partner with your CPA, which is different than maybe your tax preparer, and your banker having that financial review of your financials for your goals for the year. Do you want to pay less taxes, or do you want to have an investment property and buy $1.2 million in real estate? from that, you can make decisions, and you might pay a little bit of taxes, but now we're able to approve a loan at a decent rate that you can do all that you wanted to do.
So I'm hearing you say that you still can't zero out all of your profit or your income.
No, you can.
Depends what your goal is.
It depends on what your goal is, but if you're zero.
If I'm looking to help, I'm looking to
Right.
get a loan.
Yeah, but if you're zeroing out because you fully depreciated your equipment that you bought for $100,000, so you could write that $100,000 off, well, that's not real cash.
Right.
So you have cash in the business to pay me back. So I found money to pay me, even though you zeroed it out. It's how you zeroed it out. Was it by buying? There was, in 2008, there was a tax provision that allowed professionals to buy commercial vehicles, which was based on weight, and write it off. That year, I saw over 40 applications from dentists to buy Hummers because they were of a certain weight class. Do you remember that? A certain weight class. And so then, when gas got to $5 in 08, everybody was dumping their Hummers because it was 10 miles to a gallon, but it was tax deductible, that whole expense. They charged the whole thing off on there, and they financed it. So it's about, can I find money in those numbers that is real? Because you can write off non-real cash for tax purposes.
So my question is then, who would a business owner need to talk to so that we all can come together and Rubik's Cube this thing? Because not every accountant, not every CPA, everybody's not built the same.
Right. So you bring your team together, and that's why you date and you figure out who's moving. Because there are bankers. I have over 30 years of banking experience. I've been in this market for over 25 years, and I know a lot of the CPAs. I know a lot of the other bankers and who does what. And I really work to be a resource to small business owners. On the other side, I have bankers, same level or less experience, who will not touch a deal under $1.5 or $1 million. They don't want to deal with the small $50,000, $250,000, $300,000 deals. And so you have to find that banker that wants to work with you and your business, and then you find a CPA along the same line. Some people are about the numbers. They'll charge a low volume, but they need to do 150, 200 clients. So you have to find your team. You have to find your tools. And we're out there, but it takes that time of working on your business.
One more
Okay.
question. Because here's what I would say. Finding a CPA, how would you even know to ask? What questions should you be asking as a business owner?
Yeah. And the chamber has some of those resources, and they bring in.
Awesome.
They bring in those meetings. Sometimes they're lunchtime meetings. Sometimes they're, I forgot what they're called here. After hours, and we have our CPAs that show up. We do events at the CPA's office. We were at an attorney's office, last week or 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks. We were at a Christian
Preview.
Preview. Yeah. We were at Network Edward Jones. So we do after hours so that we can meet people in different industries, and then you have conversations, and it's about building relationships that you can trust. But it takes time for you to extend out. And I think post-pandemic, we've got to go from, I was just inviting someone to, I'm part of a BNI networking group. We meet at 6:45 a.m. every Wednesday morning. Wow. In the winter, that is rough and tough. But it's over 50 of us. It's generally 60 people in the room. And you hit it and you run. But for people to show up there, it's like, they're like, oh, that's awfully early. But we're here to do some business. And we're here to get her done, and we pass referrals, and we do all that kind of stuff. But they're like, ooh, that's awfully early. I says, well, do you want to do business? Do you want to? And we're building relationships, Right. So it's how you want to handle your business. If you want everything online, flashy, SoFi or whatever, I don't want to throw names out there, that's wrong. Mm-hmm. But if you want to just online and tag and bag, you're going to be swiping left, swiping right, swiping left, swiping right. And you can figure out if that's how you want to live your life.
I think it's real important to go with a mature banker, someone that's been in the business for quite a while. They know the answer to that. They know how to add that back to net income. They know how to determine if you have a viable business versus your strategy for tax write-offs. If you get a new lender, the answer is always yes, and it never materializes. So I'm familiar with the lenders. Carmen, these guys are really great. I don't do referrals to people that are new. I had a client come in to me and said, oh, this lender can do this deal. They had a 5-minute conversation. I go, this doesn't even catch flow. You can't even pay them back. How is this going to work? So lenders are very smart. They've seen it all. Unfortunately, you're judged on what the bad people have done in the past because they look backwards rather than forward. Prove it to me. And they've heard every excuse under the sun. They know how to mitigate the risk. But the new people, they're still working through it. Let's not waste anybody's time. Go to the people that really know what they're doing. I think that's the smartest decision, because they can look through what you're talking about. Is this a CPA tax savings strategy? Yes, let's add these things back in. Now let's evaluate the business and see what you have.
I will, before you hop in, I will attest to that. We are in some weird, wild times right now, and your professionals need to have skin in the game and time over task over time. There are just some different scenarios that they will need to see to be able to think. You pay us to think, right? You pay us to think. And the longer you have been in business, whatever business that you are in, you've seen so many different scenarios that somebody who's new, who's fresh, I'm not saying don't start whatever business you're in, but what I am saying is you might want to get a mentor, you might want to get alongside of a Carmen or a Nam, or so that we can help you understand. Yet you're not looking at it I need you to see it through a different lens. We actually dealt with this in 2008, and we've had to navigate through these waters, and some of these waters are feeling familiar, right? And so 2024's model or system may not work in 2026. So I'll let you go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's two parts that I want to add is absolutely. I mean, I feel like I look young still, but I've been in the industry for 20 years, right? Over the last 2 weekends, I've been helping a buddy install a bathtub inside his house. And we ran into every single hiccup possible, right? Trying to find a shortcut. And he goes, how the heck does plumbers do this? Like, how can I see this? Well, the fact of the matter is they've done it 20, 30,000 times in their lifetime. So they know and they could foresee. That's what bankers and SBDC, we've seen every scenario. You don't have to guess. So there's no silly scenario. There's no stupid question, whatever it may be. Come to us with those questions. Send us a text message. Give us a call. Send us an email. Utilize those resources. Now, as far as going back to, zeroing things out and not paying Uncle Sam any penny, or figuring out, is it better to pay the taxes and grow? Personally, I've lived that. Back in 2001, my dad, he started his CNC machine shop. We rented a little garage. We started off with one machine. Eventually, we grew to 3 machines, and we were side by side with another shop owner. Now, my dad, being the guy that he was, coming from Vietnam as an immigrant, he didn't want to pay any taxes. That's right. So he thought he was amazing and so smart by writing everything off, having paid zero money so he could have money to spend, while the next shop owner, he paid his taxes, he paid his dues. Now, again, it goes down to what you're trying to accomplish. Well, as the market changed and as the companies that we were working for, they required new equipment and certain types of certification, we couldn't get a bank loan to save our life because we had no income. Right? On the other side of it, he's paid his dues, he shows that he has income, and he was able to expand his machine shop, right? 10 years later, my dad doesn't have the machine shop anymore. The other guy, he's making $2-3 million a month, and he has a 40,000 square foot warehouse. So utilize the resources, utilize us as bankers, give us the scenarios, and personally, 20 years, I still haven't learned it all, but if I don't know it, I know somebody who does.
Help us understand some of the shiny nickels out there right now, some of the misconceptions about business loans that sound good on paper, and you want to run, I heard I can get X amount of dollars with no whatever it is out there. If you're on social media, there's just a lot of shiny nickels out there, right? And everything sounds good, and everybody seems to be the expert in social media. Everybody's hair looks amazing. Everybody's paid $1 million for these marketing and these videos, and
It's fraud. It's just fraud.
You said it, I didn't.
If they're saying, hey, call us, we'll get you $20,000, $50,000. I have text messages. Hey, we got this loan approved for you. Just need a little information. They want your personal information. And if you think, I don't have good credit, see what you can do with it because I can't, you don't want that. I mean, it's everything from Medicaid fraud, insurance fraud. They want your information, your social security number, your mom's maiden name, all those little things that you do when you apply for credit traditionally. If they're telling you that they can get it to you, it's really about them trying to get your personal information. Because you have no connection. They have no brick and mortar here. Are they even in the country? Is even a real person caught? We don't know anymore. So that's the shining nickel that I always try to do because people say, well, I don't have good credit, but there's even medical fraud because they could use your name and then the bill pops up. And recently, within the last year, a person I know received they were issued a warrant for their arrest because of a DUI accident that happened in California. And I haven't been to California as an Uber driver. She's like, I'm not an Uber driver. Someone had gotten her information, got a driver's license in California. They were operating as an Uber who was in an accident, didn't follow up because they weren't legal, and they traced it back to her contact information here in Washington.
Wow.
Because they had her data. And so she had to literally go to court and prove she wasn't there, do all these things because they just had that piece of information. Someone's making money as an Uber driver in California off her information. So it may not seem like your information is valuable, but it's valuable to somebody.
Another thing I'm always asked, are there grants available to start a business or to fund a business? There were grants with COVID. We don't know of any right now. There's 40 of us counselors with the SBDC in the state of Washington. Whenever we hear of a grant, we pass it on to our clients because we know it's really important to them. Yeah. Have you guys heard of any grants out there?
No.
So to start a business, you're going to need money from your savings, from your credit cards, from your friends and family to start the business. Possibly you could do an SBA loan, a 7A to get started, but there's really no grants out there, and it's one of the few questions I'm asked almost all the time as soon as we start our appointments.
That's good. I've got one scenario that I would love all of you to answer, and then we're going to open it up for question and answering, for Q&A, okay? All right, here's the scenario. A small business has been operating for 2 years. Sales are growing, but the bookkeeping is consistent. What did I say? Did I say consistent?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, no. Inconsistent. Been there. Cash reserves are limited, and the owner needs $50,000 for equipment and additional staff. That's what I get when I don't put on my readers. Taryn, what should the owner do first to improve the chances of receiving financing?
I'm not sure that they need financing right now. I would like to talk with them. First of all, you have to get the accounting system in order. I had a client that was so busy that they weren't billing their customers. I said, I got work for you to do.
Don't judge, it happens.
Yeah, everything has to stop. We got to get the accounting system in order. So you need to know what your numbers are. Second of all, if your sales are growing and your cash flow is tight, you could possibly be growing too fast. You're outgrowing your cash flow. I've seen businesses, I've liquidated businesses that grew too fast and they put themselves right out of business. It has to be a controlled growth. So I would make sure that the business is operating efficiently. Let's look at the pricing. Maybe, if the sales are growing and your cash flow is tight, you might not be charging the correct amount. If you're just breaking even as your revenue increases, you're just compounding the problem if you don't fix it. So there's a lot in this short scenario that needs to be addressed before we even look at what their needs are for financing. And you need to be ready to take the next step. If they're going to purchase this new piece of equipment, do they have money for the person to run the equipment, depending on what it is? Smart businesses grow, then they level off and put in infrastructure so they could grow like this. If they grow like this, you run out of cash flow. So there's many problems here that are not obvious that need to be looked into. So I could help them look into it, and then let's see if this piece of equipment is a smart purchase right now.
Why is growing too fast a detriment?
I could say, in a real dumb scenario, I could say I could go get contracts to mow 50,000 lawns right now. I don't have a lawnmower and I got me. So that would grow too fast. Now, not only can I not service that, I don't have the infrastructure, the lawnmowers, the people to take care of it. In addition, now I have a negative reputation in the marketplace.
And I think I want to speak to that too, because sometimes growing too fast, yeah, the money may come in that season, but what does it cost you in your reputation? This is not a get rich quick, right? Your name and your reputation, your character and your integrity, your follow-up is what you have. And you may have one great season because things kind of blossomed and bloomed and you decided to take all the business because you want all the business and all the money. And then a year later, it is, this person didn't call me back. Or you're exhausted because you thought everything was cool and you wanted to just take all of the business. And now you have to rewrite yourself. You have to reestablish who you are because now there are 50 people that did business with you, and those 50 people will not give you one referral because of their experience. As a business owner, the experience that you give your client matters. And in this season, relationships can cost. They can make you or break you. So just my 2 cents on that. Go ahead, Nan.
You have anything to add?
So I had a customer who had structured growth and had planned to reach, they were a concrete company, and their goal was to hit $12 million. They were doing $6 million. It was a 3-year plan. On year 2, they hit $12 million and in revenue, high-end revenue. And so I said, okay, so we're on track. And he's like, I am not doing that again. I didn't get to go to my kids this. I missed a family vacation. It was too much. It was too much. He's like, I'm going to live in the 8 to $10 million range. So that's part of what structured growth can look like. Because again, the infrastructure and your capacity, and then your desires and your life circumstances change over 3 to 5 years. The other growing too fast example is if you're old enough to remember Boston Market, they used to have a great pickup meal. They were here one day and gone tomorrow. Yeah. They imploded from too much growth. But if we're dating and we get past that and we're on to the 3rd date and now we're talking about exchanging money matters, if your numbers are still looking a little tight, but this because you're turning so fast, then maybe instead of coming to a traditional bank lender, maybe you're looking at the equipment owner and seeing if they'll finance it at sometimes 0%, sometimes at 0 down. Because if you don't pay them, they can take that back and resell it just as easily. I have to repo it and do this. I don't know what to do with that machine. So their risk tolerance is a little bit less. That's another financing tool that might suit that situation at that time.
Growing too fast is, I'm sure that we've all grown up and, had our parents buy us a pair of pants that are a little bit too big and say that we'll grow into it, or we'll grow way beyond, the pants that don't fit anymore, right? And I think that as a business owner, you kind of forget the tools that you have. Sometimes hiring on new employees but not having your payroll in place could really, hinder you, or not having treasury management or ways to accept payments. All that stuff is part of that business growth. But again, as business owners, we just focus on what we know and what we're good at, and we forget about that other stuff. This is a big proponent for me, is that most banks, we all offer the same products and services to some degree, right? But having a relationship with your banker, we're the advocate to your business. We're going to foresee these problems before you get there, and that's why having regular meetings and having a good relationship with your banker is very important. I'd like to ask here, how many of you guys know your banker by first name? That to me is a big problem. Yeah.
Thank you.
I am not ashamed to ask for referrals.
And I just want to comment also on what Dee said. 2008 in the real estate market, obviously pivot. I've been to a class, pivot or die, COVID, pivot. There's a bunch of pivoting coming down the pipeline. Make sure you have a savings account and make sure you watch what's coming in. In this class, he said, if you see it on the parameter, it's going to be here and you're too late. So pay attention to what's here, what's coming down the pipeline, because there's a lot of changes out in the marketplace right now.
That's good. Anything you want to share before we open this up to question and answer?
I'd like to share my contact information.
Yes.
Just like Carmen here. Again, I'm Nguyen. I'm at WaFd East Hill, Kent, NAM. Last name is Nguyen, Nguyen, right up there, abbreviated. And then phone number, it's my personal cell phone. It's always been on my business cards for the last 20 years. It's 425-761-9299. And again, I mean, I have a young kid, but no grandkids. So as long as I'm not sleeping, I'm answering the phone.
I've got the hard copy here.
Good.
If you like a business card or you like a brochure to learn more about us. The one thing that I would like to say is utilize the resources out there. There's so many resources. We meet so many people. If I don't have the answer, I know the person that has the answer. If you need help in this arena, I know the person that could help you. So utilize these resources because it doesn't just stop with us. We know everybody in these cities, so we're willing to help with that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I guess my closing comment is, as you can see, you know, us bankers, we get along. We don't live by the, if I do well, you do poorly. We look at life as a river, and if I'm pulling up too many one type of deals and we're at our capacity, I know I can call and say, hey, do you guys have capacity for this? And we kind of talk amongst ourselves a lot to help you out. So our goal is as much as we appreciate Applebee's, we want all of our small businesses to thrive and survive. I know that at the point that my plumbing backs up, I have a resource to call. I don't want to have to, wait for someone to come in from Bellevue or Tacoma. We've got people locally. And so our goal here as lenders is to have access to capital in our communities so our communities can thrive and be vibrant in the various areas. We have a plethora of restaurants that run from very ethnic food to all American food to this. We've got businesses that run the gamut of building different types of industries. And so our goal as lenders is really to help access to capital to keep our community the way we love to grow it. And so we're trying to find ways to help you. So that's why sometimes the young lenders are like, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. And we're like, no, but we can find a way. So, take that with encouragement that we're here to really be of service.
I love that collaboration over competition. Sometimes it takes a few more brains to put something together. And what I loved what you guys said is sometimes you're at capacity. As a business owner, whatever level you are in, you are going to peak. You have a capacity before you either have to grow with your leverage, right? And again, in growing your business. So understand your capacity. When you begin to break that capacity and you don't do this leverage work and you don't do this business work, that's when your reputation begins to get a little bit mealy. So I just wanted to encourage you all. Again, my name is Dee Scott. I don't know what that QR code goes to. Have no idea. However, something good. If that one doesn't work, I do 15-minute consultations, whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest. If you just need a plumber, if you need somebody, if you're thinking, even if you're just thinking about it, right? We just do a 15-minute consultation. And that's what we do. We provide information so that you can make smart decisions.